All right, it is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Dr. Jerry Parrish is the Chief Economist and the Director of Research for the Florida Chamber Foundation. In that role, he's responsible for conducting in-depth analyses on the Florida economy and on solutions to help secure Florida's future. He previously was the Chief Economist and Director of the Center for Competitive Florida at Florida Tax Watch. Prior to that position, he served as the Associate Director of the Center for Economic Forecasting and Analysis at Florida State University and has many years of experience in the private sector in management roles at international manufacturing companies. Dr. Parrish is also an adjunct in the Masters in Applied Economics program at Florida State University. He earned a BS in Agricultural Business and Economics from Auburn University, an MBA from Bellarmine University, an MS in Economics from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and a PhD in Economics from Auburn University. He's regularly published research reports and articles on the Florida economy and Florida's competitiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Jerry Parrish.
Thanks, everybody. I do have a request next time. Put me after a tax attorney or somebody who's a lot more boring than the mayor. I appreciate getting to meet him and talking this morning. I want to talk about a couple things. Certainly, I want to talk about the economy. The organization I work for, the Florida Chamber Foundation, my job is to look 2 to 30 years in the future and come up with solutions for issues Florida has now and is going to have. I'm just, our part is just one part of the Florida Chamber. When we find those solutions, we literally hand them downstairs. We have a bunch of lobbyists and people that are working with the legislators to make sure the right policies get passed. We also have a political arm as part of the chamber, and their job is to go around the state and find the right people to run for statewide office. And those are the people that put the long term in front of the short term. A couple of years ago, we went around the state, engaged more than 10,000 people live in rooms like this, back when we could do that. By the way, I appreciate y'all having a live event. There haven't been many in the state. Absolutely thrilled to be here and get to talk to people and see them in the same room. But we also went to all 67 counties to do this, to find out what kind of future that everybody wanted for their Florida. And we came up with 39 goals. And how we keep score of how we're doing is the Florida Scorecard. There's what the front page of the scorecard looks like. Let's think about Florida for a minute. Florida, if Florida was an independent country, we'd be the 17th largest economy in the world. I mean, we're bigger than a lot of countries, like the Netherlands and Saudi Arabia. Our economy in Florida is a lot bigger than that. We're a $1.1 trillion economy. One of our goals is to be the 10th largest economy in the world by 2030. And we have to pass a lot of countries. And I mean countries like Mexico that have 120 million people instead of 20 million people. A lot of countries right now, Canada is actually the 10th largest economy in the world. Sales and use taxes. Pretty efficient way to run a state. Taxing consumption is more efficient than taxing income, which we don't have an income tax, or taxing inputs to business. So it's a pretty good gig. It's in our best interest to where we have more people making as much money as possible in this state. It's good. That's one reason that we don't have to have a state income tax, that and our visitors. Got to remember about Florida, since 2015, more than 1 out of every 11 jobs in the country were created in the state of Florida. That's a big deal. Florida is about 5% of the U.S. economy. 1 in 20 jobs would be average, more than 1 in 11. So almost double our weight as a state. And that's boding really well now as we recover from COVID and go back to normal. Not just at the state level. This is Brevard County, front page of the county scorecard. You can get there. There's a little button at the top right that says View County Data. There's literally hundreds of thousands of pieces of data on this website for you to use. We want local chambers to use it. We want economic developers to use it. We want your city, county commissions to use it. You can pull one of these tiles off of here, cut it off of there with a little snipping tool, send it to your local newspaper, send it to your city commissioner, and ask them about these metrics. That's how we're all going to get better. Now let's look at what COVID has done. Everybody's been through this last several months. It's been devastating to the economy, and especially to different parts of the economy. The good news is this is the number of hospitalizations in Florida. You can see we had a big peak last July. We had another peak, in January of this year, but the hospitalizations are going down. That's the important metric. Cases continue to go up. Nobody's following people around and taking them off the list once they've tested positive. So that number just continues to go up. But this is the important number. The important thing is our hospitals have done really well taking care of patients. Now we're on the downhill slide. We've got vaccines. Now it's time to think more about their recovery. So we're doing that. Now what's happened to the job market since then? You don't have to see the numbers in the back. You see that big cliff. That's February to April of this year. This is a common job series that we use, the non-farm job series. These are seasonally adjusted. You can see a couple of kinks in there. One of them was Hurricane Irma. That affected us greatly for about a month, and then we recovered those jobs. But you can see we're down more than 1.1 million jobs in the state between February and April. We've gotten more than 700,000 of those jobs left. And here's the way it's looked on a month-to-month basis. You can see the big recovery when things first opened back up, but then recovery steady, 8 months of job growth. The important thing about this is when you look at the December number, 16,800 jobs, compare that to the U.S. that actually lost jobs in December. So what I'm telling you is Florida continues to recover. We're actually doing better than the U.S. in almost every metric that we have. What's happened though is it's been really devastating. Nobody's going to be shocked by this. It's our leisure and hospitality industry. Almost half of the job loss year over year is still in leisure and hospitality. And I broke out, I'll leave the slides here with you. You feel free to send them out to everybody if you can't see them. When you break these down, food services is down a little over 10%, but the other parts of hospitality, hotels down about 40%, theme parks, amusement parks, arcades, those kind of things are down about 40% year over year. That's where the bulk of the job losses are. But some categories are almost recovered. We're only down 100 jobs in financial activities year over year. But really, when you split that out, we've actually got 11,100 more finance and insurance jobs than we did a year ago. So we're growing jobs in that category. The other part of that, though, is real estate rental and leasing. We're down 11,200 jobs in that part of the category. So some are recovering. They're recovering at different speeds. I gave a forecast of when all these jobs would be back by industry when I did my Economic Outlook Summit for the Florida Chamber Foundation about 3 weeks ago. And different industries are coming back. Some of them like manufacturing, big important thing here in Brevard County. They'll be back by next quarter, no doubt about it. And certainly it's different depending on what part of the state you're in. I always do these maps. I do a video every month. It's free to see on the Florida Chamber website. It's called Florida by the Numbers. And I'll go over your county and every county's job numbers. Where are we compared to this time last year? And you can see year over year, Brevard's only down 2.1%. What does that mean? You can see on the county page, the number of unemployed people is over 13,000. That's declining. That's why that thing is green. Green means it's going in the right direction. The year over year job change down 5,893 jobs. That's really good though compared to a lot of our other counties. When we look at labor force changes, this is something that's concerning. Florida's down labor force compared to this time last year. And here's what labor force means. Labor force means you're either working or you're looking for a job. If you're looking for a job, you're counted as unemployed. That's where that number comes from. But there's less people, 2.6% less people in a growing state than there was this time last year. A little higher than the US, 2.4. Look at Brevard here. Brevard's actually positive, just barely positive. In a lot of cases, these have been females dropping out of the workforce, but when their kids couldn't go to school. And we have good national data on that. We don't have good statewide data, but all the national data says, hey, in a lot of cases, it's females dropping out of the workforce. So that means we've got productive people who used to have jobs that may want to come back into the workforce. We may well see them come back this fall if their kids go back to school, if that's the reason they left the workforce. But that's concerning. You've got trained people that could be productive that aren't in the workforce for various reasons, and we don't actually know a lot about them. All right, other things I want to talk about. You see the job numbers are down, but, and you probably can't see this, especially if you're in the back, but when you look at GDP, and GDP is just a measure of economic activity, think about it as value added. Value added is a really good metric. In other words, you can take a restaurant meal, the difference in what that restaurant pays for tomatoes and chicken and all those things versus what they sell it for as a finished meal. That's value added. Manufacturing, you buy 100 components, you assemble them into something. That's a high value added industry. But the GDP number is really good because it's really correlated with the high wage jobs. Actually, Florida, year over year, the latest data we have is in the top 5 states in GDP recovery. We're down just a little bit, 0.1%. We're in the top 5 of the states. There's no other state east of the Mississippi that's done this well. There's certainly no state in the southeast that's done this well. It's only a few western states who've actually got positive GDP year over year. Anybody want to guess why the western states, and you can see them here, Utah, Washington, Idaho, Arizona, why are those states growing in GDP when most of the rest of the country, hey, it's down 1.7% year over year? Anybody want to guess? Californians leaving the state, still want to live out west, selling their home at crazy money prices, going and investing private capital in these other western states. We get the same thing. We get those northern tier states, New York, New Jersey, Illinois. We get the same thing down here. That's a big, big deal. Those people bringing capital, bringing ideas, invest them in here. Companies moving in is continuing to happen in the state of Florida. What the big difference is, how do you keep your GDP and recover it quickly, but you still don't have that many jobs? The reason is there's more high wage jobs in Florida now than there was a year ago. And it's been true in Florida since June. In June, I could stand up there and say Florida has more high wage jobs now than we did in January. And you remember what was going on in June last year. And so I've showed the numbers here. Florida's up 6.7%. A high wage job by this metric, these people use 60,000 and above. Low wage job, 27,000 and below. So the middle's in between there. You can see Florida is better in every category. Our low wage jobs are hurt, minus 14.8%. So 15% less low wage jobs than there was a year ago. And you know where they came from. It's service industry jobs. Now, where is Brevard County? Can't see that in there. Brevard County's better in every metric. Now, they don't list middle wage for Brevard County. It's just, there's small data sets, and when they can't keep them, when there's not enough data, they won't report it. But look at this, Brevard County's doing better by a long shot. Less than 10% of your low-wage jobs have been lost year over year. I think that is phenomenal. That's the best county that I've run across in the state. I'll be honest, I haven't looked at every single one of them, but certainly that's something to be really proud of here. You've got a resilient economy, got a lot of manufacturing that diversifies the economy. Yes, you've got some tourism losses, and those are important to those people in that business, but let's be blunt, this area is better off than most any place in the entire country, so congratulations. There's one last thing I want to talk about. I got 3 more slides. We work every single day at the Florida Chamber Foundation on prosperity for people in every zip code. I want to show you a couple of tools I've developed where you can help. This is long-term economic development. One of the things we do for every single county is we create poverty maps by zip code. So you can see the number of kids in poverty by zip code. Very unusual for a state chamber to look at this, yet we've got full-time people working on this every day. We have people adopting zip codes. We have chambers adopting zip codes. There's plenty of opportunities to get involved here because every kid you get out of poverty, now has a much higher chance of success in the future and, become somebody who can be eligible, get into the workforce and develop your economy even further and provide opportunity. So we've been doing this for the last couple of years. If you'll see CEO Mark Wilson, he shows these everywhere he goes. I show them everywhere I go. But what we wanted to show also is, the 3rd grade reading scores. So I developed something called the Florida Gap Map. And if you can't see this in the back, this is Brevard County on the Florida Gap Map. You lay your mouse over a zip code, it'll tell you the zip code 32780 has 1,936 kids living in poverty. And that's 31.1% under 18 poverty rate. And that's not the highest one in the state. That's not the lowest one in the state, certainly. The average is a little over 20%. And our goal in our Florida 2030 blueprint, remember I told you we went around the country or went around the state of Florida, all 67 counties. Our goal is to reduce child poverty in half by 2030. So what we did was show this. You can also lay your mouse over the schools. And Apollo Elementary School is just one that I chose. Their reading score is 65, which means at level 3 or above, if you're educators, there's 65% of those kids reading at grade level. How many kids are not? Approximately 45 kids not reading at grade level. What we ask at the Florida Chamber Foundation is adopt a classroom. Don't adopt a whole school. If your business is near that area, and that's why we developed this map. You can see where you live, you can see where you work, you can trace the path in between the two. And if you picked a school, and you don't have to wait till the kids are in 3rd grade to help them learn how to read at 3rd grade level, you can help them in 2nd grade, you can help them in 1st grade. So we're gathering zip code champions. We're gathering folks that really want to get involved in this because this is the long-term future. Remember that kid that's in 3rd grade right now is going to be a high school graduate in the year 2030. And this is the way we solve childhood poverty. It's helping people get job skills so they can get a job and get themselves and their kids out of poverty. And the long-term solution here is education. So that tool is available 24 hours a day. I'm done. That's the last slide I wanted to show. I know we've got, we're going to take some questions up here in a second, but if you ever have questions, you can contact me at the Florida Chamber Foundation. There's only one economist. You probably call any state chamber in the country and they'll say, oh no, we don't have one. You better call Florida. So they'll probably give you the number, but I'll be glad to help you if you guys want to get involved in that. But thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Parrish. I'll take that. And I'm going to ask Scott and Troy, if you guys would join us up here and we will do a little bit of Q&A. We got a few minutes. I'm going to give the mic to Aaron. If you have a question, raise your hand. Anybody got questions in the audience? Way in the back. You put your running shoes on, Aaron. I do want to just comment because I've listened to Dr. Parrish talk a few times, and one of the things that he talked about early on in the pandemic is the fact that the diversification of the economy that has happened since shuttle retirement in Brevard County has really set us up nicely for recovery from not only the pandemic but the recession. I don't know if you said a little bit, but I don't know if you want to say anything else towards that.
Yeah, you got to remember about Brevard County. One of the statistics I love to talk about is over the past 3 or 4 years before COVID, Florida was growing manufacturing jobs at about 3 times the U.S. rate. And Brevard County provided 1 out of every 6 Florida new manufacturing jobs. You know, that's exciting to me. One of the big problems with Florida is we buy a lot of stuff. And so what happens is these containers and ships and trucks come in here and then they leave empty. Well, what does that mean? That means when you're shipping inbound freight to Florida, you're paying a premium because the probability of you getting a backhaul if you're a trucker, and filling up that truck to take it back north is about 50%. So if we manufactured more, which we're doing, stuffed them in those containers, it would bring down our inbound freight costs, make Florida more competitive business-wise. Consumers would have to spend less money on their stuff. And so that really is a big solution for diversifying the rest of Florida's economy. Y'all got to go with the average manufacturing wage in Brevard County is more than $90,000. $90,000. Who wouldn't want more of that?
Thank you.
Go to our audience member.
Good morning. Do you know what's going on with the Royal Oak old golf course?
Scott or Troy?
Actually, I don't. I knew that the 2 owners were in litigation for a while, and I don't know beyond that.
Yeah, I don't have any additional information.
Okay, sorry. Another question? We'll see if we can get an update though.
Rich Galita with Superior on Staffing and Recruiting. Dr. Parrish, you mentioned about less people in the workforce this year than last year. Do you believe it has anything to do with the fact that under our new stimulus components that they're doing, that people do not have to be actively searching for a job and still get their unemployment compensation? And therefore you have people who are sitting on the sidelines just collecting those funds versus actively looking for work?
That's absolutely true. When people were getting $600 more a week than, to not work than they were to go back to work, it absolutely happened. So, as those programs go back to normal levels, you'll certainly see some people come back there. It's absolutely happening. I speak to business people that have been frustrated by that on a pretty regular basis.
Hi, I'm Azim Sajid with HTG Hotels. We have the Town Place here, the development of the Comfort Suites. We were looking to do a development near Playa Linda Brewery and ran into sewer capacity issues. Is there any update on resolving those capacity issues?
Yeah, if the area you're talking about is south of Highway 50 on US 1 going all the way down to State Road 405, there is a proposal that we're looking at through the city and the economic development zone to incentivize a group that would put in a new sanitary sewer line that would be on the west side of US 1 going down. It's about a 3-mile stretch, a project that's going to probably be about $2.5 million. We're still putting together the engineering for that and still trying to figure out exactly, making sure that from the city's utility division that we're sizing it out in the correct way so that it will handle not only some planned development along that route, but some future stuff along that route. So it is in the works, hasn't been approved yet, but we're working toward that. The timeline is to have it operational within 18 to 20 months.
And we do think the south side of our city will experience the growth. If you've not been out off of Grissom to the Verona housing area, there's 1,200 new homes going in there.
Hi, my name is Karen Robert, and I'm for insurance there. And my question is in regards to the Point Plaza and the Horizon Apartments that we built. Do you guys look at opening that road that goes right through there? Because our office is located there, and we have one trucks that have to cross US 1 currently to deliver units and other things. It's a liability on its own, come right around the corner. do you guys plan on maybe opening that or opening the other road?
I'm not familiar with what road you're speaking of.
So the road that goes behind, next to Cumberland,
Right.
and goes from the south side of that development, goes onto that property. There is the parcel on the north end that is commercial right now, that is active, and so the only way in and out of that is on US 1. She's asking if there's going to be a road access to that through the plan that Horizon is
Yes.
doing. Yes.
Second question is, for the on the impact gap, does that include our gifted, the ones that are scoring above that line?
You know, that's a great question. When you look at the school scores that we get from the Department of Education, don't get caught up in what level 3 means. Level 3 has nothing to do with third grade. There's a level 1 through 5 for every single test, the language arts and the other tests. What I show in that percentage, there were 65% of those kids reading at grade level or above. That means they could be at level 3, level 4, or level 5. I have that data and it's publicly available for everybody. So you can see how many kids are reading at level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5 by school for the past several years. So, but what we do is we just show level 3 or above. So those folks reading at advanced levels are included in that number.
Any other questions from the group? Guys went easy on them this morning. Linda. Mike's coming. Mike's coming.
Hi, Linda Brandt, Rowland Company. Mine's for Jerry. It's on the gap. Do you have any data on other factors? I mean, right now you're working on hunger as a factor for those low reading skills. But do you have other factors like things about early education, for our little ones, starting early, that kind of thing that would help us look at that problem in a little larger way?
Sure. You got to understand this is, there's only one gap map that shows education and poverty together. There's only one in the country, and I developed it. It's one we use at the Florida Chamber. There are a lot of reasons, and how it comes up typically for me to talk about it is people will say, and I've presented my own county commission. And there was a school that we had in Leon County that had a reading score of 29. Only 29% of their kids were reading at level 3 or above. And this county commissioner said, something, we should quit giving tax money to that school because only 29% of their kids are reading at grade level. And we should quit taxing the parents that send their kids to that school. And I'm going to tell you, that's about the stupidest thing I ever heard. Because of those issues that you're bringing up, we don't know if those kids, it might be a miracle. They got 29% of those kids reading at grade level, right? We don't know if those kids showed up to school hungry every day, their parents ever read to them. We don't know anything about this. So I always have to use that warning, and it's on the website when you go over there. Hey, just because it's a low score doesn't mean it's a bad school. It may be the best school you have. But yeah, there's tons of issues. For us though, we're highlighting this to the business community so people can go to the community and go to the school and help them with the issues that they have, and that's just a couple of them.
Any other questions? No? All right. I want to thank you guys for being here with us. I'll turn you guys loose. You can, you're off the hook now. And I do want to take just a moment to thank our online audience. I want to thank the Great Outdoors and the Plantation Manor for being our hosts this morning. Thank you, Billy, to you and your team.